Hey guys, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Leanne. I'm not really used to recording videos, so it feels kind of awkward to talk into the camera. And just for anyone who's wondering, yes, I am sitting in my car, but it's in the garage. I just got back from dropping off my daughter at school. I wanted to start making videos about my weight loss journey, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of obnoxious, I guess, when people call it that, but I don't really know what else to call it. But it's not just about losing weight or getting in shape or whatever. I also wanted to talk about an eating disorder that I have that is called ARFID. I have some other videos on my channel about it if you guys want to know more about that in detail. Basically, it's extreme picky eating. I have a lot of issues with textures of foods, and it limits my diet a lot with making it hard to eat most foods. And so my diet is pretty similar to probably like an 8-year-old's diet, honestly. My diet hasn't changed a whole lot since I was a kid. I've actually lost some foods that I was able to eat as a kid because I either had something happen where I stopped liking it because, like, I don't know, it was made a certain way that bothered me one time and then I wasn't able to eat it anymore, or I found out a certain ingredient was in it and couldn't handle that after I knew that that's what was in there. Or I just had it a million times and got so tired of it that I couldn't eat it anymore. I have been able to add a few things into my diet, but not a whole lot. For the most part, it's the same as when I was like 8 years old. I do have a lot of foods that I am technically able to eat, but I just have to really be in the mood to eat them. Mostly things like vegetables and stuff like that, or certain fruits. And so they're technically in my repertoire. I just don't eat them super often, and I have to really push myself to eat those things. And so some of those things I've kind of added back in over the last couple of years with like trying to expand my diet. And so I wanted to talk about how I've tried to eat better and lose weight and get in shape while also struggling with not having a whole lot of food options, because I've tried to find videos of other people who have ARFID and have tried to eat better, and I haven't really been able to find anything. Everything is specifically talking about just ARFID or just eating better. Like, I haven't found the two together. And so I wanted to make my own videos so that I could share that with other people, because I'm sure there are other people who have ARFID who also want to eat better. And it makes it difficult because I've noticed with being in a couple different ARFID groups, or it used to be called selective eating disorder, or SED, or even just like picky eaters groups on Facebook, that we tend towards comfort foods like mac and cheese, fried foods, stuff like that. And so a lot of the foods that we tend to be okay with is less healthy stuff, or a lot of carbs, a lot of fried things. And a lot of people in the groups that I've seen are not able to tolerate much produce. Some people have never had any kind of produce just because they can't handle the texture, or like different aspects of it make them unable to eat much, if any, kind of produce. And so it's very hard for people with ARFID to eat a well-balanced diet. And so I wanted to talk about my experience with trying to eat more variety and cut down on things like sugar and have better portions of carbs and stuff like that, while not having the ability to have as much variety as a quote normal person would be able to. I try not to call foods like healthy and unhealthy. I know there are foods that are healthier than others, obviously. Like, you wouldn't want to be eating a ton of sugar all the time or a ton of carbs all the time and no produce if possible. But most foods have some level of nutritional value in them. Some others obviously have much higher levels. And so I try to, since I know that a lot of the foods that I eat tend to not be the healthiest, I try to not think of them in that way, because since it is so hard to change my diet, I don't want to be constantly shaming myself about it. Yes, I am trying to be better, but I also don't want to make myself feel constantly bad about the things that I am able to eat at the current time. And so I try to think of it in terms of, this food has some vitamins in it and it has carbs and whatever. It'll give me energy, it'll sustain me, but I can also add these other things in it that have more vitamins and that have less sugar and whatever. And so I can always add more things that are more of the goal, I guess, without shaming myself for the things that I am able to eat. And so I try to have that kind of perspective, and not feel bad about the things that I am able to handle. Another thing that I've worked on a lot in the last couple years, since I did treatment for my ARFID in 2020, is portion control. And so I still eat a lot of the same foods that I was eating previously. I just have cut down a lot. Before I did the treatment, most of the time when I'd have a meal, I would have whatever kind of pasta, and I would just have a big bowl of that, and that was my whole meal. And it was definitely at least double what a portion size should be, if not 3 times. And I wasn't having anything else with it most of the time. And when I went through the eating disorder treatment, that really helped me. It didn't, for the most part, help me add any new foods that I wasn't previously able to eat, but it did help me with realizing that I needed to eat more variety within a meal. So it helped me realize that stuff that I already was able to eat, I could have several of those things in one meal. Instead of just having one big bowl of pasta, I could have a smaller bowl of pasta that was closer to what an actual portion is supposed to be, and then have 2 or 3 servings of fruit, like grapes and strawberries. And for literally 2 years straight, I was doing peanut butter and apples with every meal. Now I've gotten to the point where I am so tired of doing those that I can't eat them anymore, at least for now. But I would do 2 to 3 different fruits with the meal. I try to do vegetables occasionally. I'll do sometimes sunflower seeds or pecans or something like that. And so I'll do several different things. So I went from having just the one big bowl of pasta to 5 different things in one meal. And so it's helped me expand my variety of meals, even without adding things that I wasn't previously able to eat. So I'm getting much more variety in vitamins and minerals, and much smaller portions of the carbs and kind of smaller portions of like dairy and stuff, because that was a big one that I was consuming. And I'm also getting a lot more produce, because before I would have produce like once or twice, okay, maybe a little more than that, like a couple times a month maybe, and that was pretty normal for me. Now I have it pretty much every day. Sometimes I'll have trouble where like I still only have a few types of fruit that I eat, and sometimes I'll go through like a little while where I'm having trouble finding ones at the store where like they don't have any good strawberries, or the strawberries are out of season so they're expensive, and like I'm having trouble finding grapes because all the ones they have at the store are really soft and I can only eat very firm grapes, so I have to go a while without grapes. Or right now I don't really feel like I can eat apples because I ate them for literally 2 years straight, and so I'll have a little bit of trouble where like I just don't feel like I have access to them. But I definitely notice that I'm like craving those fruits when I go a couple days without them, whereas before I wasn't craving them at all because I'd only have them a couple times a month. Now if I go like 2 days without fruits, then I'm like, man, I need to get some kind of fruit, because I can tell a difference in like just how I feel, and I'm craving something that feels more natural and isn't so processed, because most of the other stuff that I eat is processed stuff. And so I noticed those little improvements that have helped. Another thing that I wanted to talk about with me trying to lose weight and get in better shape is that since it's so hard for me to change how I eat and like cut out processed stuff and cut out carbs and stuff like that, which isn't always sustainable anyway, since it's so hard for me to change what I'm eating, instead I've been changing how I'm eating. And so one thing that I found works well for me when I'm actually able to be consistent, which is a struggle for me, is intermittent fasting, which can work really well for some people. It's not recommended for people who have a history of disordered eating, in terms of like anorexia and bulimia, those types of disorders. And so if you struggle with that type of disordered eating, it's not recommended that you do intermittent fasting. If you don't have a problem with that, it can work well. Some people it doesn't work as well with for like physical health reasons. Like I know my mother-in-law can't go a super long stretch without eating because she feels jittery and shaky and kind of lightheaded, and so they recommend talking to your doctor to see if it's a good fit for you, or like kind of playing around with it, and there are different ways that you can do it. What works pretty well for me and helps me stay within the calorie limit that I'm trying to do to steadily lose about a pound a week, which I think for me is around like 1,300 to like 1,500 calories. I don't aim for like an exact calorie amount, and I also don't typically count calories just because I don't remember to, and I tend to get too obsessive about it, so I just aim for like what seems like a good amount, like feels like a good amount to me. But it's around 1,300 to 1,500 for my weight and my goals. Anyway, the method that works for me when I'm actually consistent with it is called OMAD, which stands for 1 meal a day, but it's like one giant meal. So it's like your whole day's worth of calories within a short amount of time. So it could be like 1 to 4 hours. And so a lot of times like I'll either kind of spread it out, or I'll like get all my food together at once and just end up sitting at the table eating for like an hour straight. But I have a big variety of stuff. I'll have like a bowl of pasta, several different types of fruit, sometimes like pecans or something like I mentioned, some kind of snack thing with that. I'll usually have like milk or like orange juice or something like that. And so I'm able to have a big variety of stuff, and I have literally like a day's worth of calories at once, and then I'm full enough for the rest of the day. And then I go like 18 to like 23 hours without eating until the next day. And that works well with me losing weight steadily when I actually stick to it, but I tend to have trouble with that because like in the afternoon or evening I have trouble with self-control or willpower and not like having a snack or like eating another meal. And it's never because I'm hungry. Like I've eaten enough that I'm not hungry until the next day. So it's never that I'm like starving because I'm going so long without eating. It's always because the food's there and I want to eat it, or I'm bored or whatever. And so it's literally just I need to practice better self-control. And so a lot of times, like once I get the idea in my head of like, oh, I want to have this snack or whatever, it's hard for me to get that thought out of my head without actually doing it. And so that's something that I have to work on and like get serious about, and like, no, I actually want to be consistent and have this work and meet my goals and not keep making excuses, because it's literally never, oh, I'm actually hungry and need to eat something, or oh, I don't feel well because I haven't eaten in a while. It's just, oh, there's food there and I could eat it. Oh, I'm bored and I want to eat something. And so like I have noticed that it does work well for my body when I'm being consistent, when I'm having like a couple weeks in a row where pretty much every day I'm doing OMAD and fasting at least 18 hours. Usually it's like around 20 hours. Like I'll start to lose weight consistently and stay on track. And I feel good about myself, and the progress that I'm making is not just like straight down losing weight, like it's still kind of up and down like weight loss tends to be, but it's a clear downward trend. But as soon as I don't do it one day, then I start to make excuses for myself to not do it other days. And so consistency is the thing that I struggle with the most. So I've done that a bunch of times. So like a lot of people I've seen in the intermittent fasting groups on Facebook, they are able to reach their goals within like a year or a year and a half or 2 years, whatever. And at this point, I started intermittent fasting almost 2.5 years ago, because I started April 2021. And so sometimes I think to myself, I could have already been at my goal size at this point if I'd been consistent. And so I keep telling myself, you could be at your goal by now. And so if you're consistent, you can reach it. And I have a specific goal weight, which is 135, because that's the weight I was when I was happiest with my body. But I know that like a specific weight isn't necessary. I'm gonna adjust when I get to the size that I feel happiest at, like when I've reached how I feel good in my body and when I like how my clothes fit and stuff like that. Like once I reach that point, that's when I'll stop. It doesn't have to be exactly at 135. That's just the weight that I was when I was happiest with my body, and I know that it might be different now. So if I'm happy with how my body looks and feels prior to that, then that's my goal. So I'm gonna show you guys some pictures of when I started out and some pictures of what I look like now and some videos of some exercise that I'm doing. I don't do a ton of exercise because I have a lot of sensory issues and it makes it hard for me to exercise, and it's also hard for me to be motivated, but I'll show you what I've been doing. Alright, this chart shows the weight that I started at the beginning of when I started intermittent fasting all the way through now. As you can see, it's been up and down, which is normal with weight loss. I tend to lose some kind of steadily for a while and then plateau, and then lose some more and plateau, or like gain some back when I'm inconsistent with fasting, and then plateau or start to lose again. It's kind of all over the place, which is why it's been taking me so long, just due to lack of consistency. But as you can see, it's an overall downward trend. So that's often how it is with weight loss, is that it'll go up and down, but you just want the overall trend to be downward. And so lately it went back up a bit and then it's kind of stagnated, but I've only gone back up a couple pounds, and I've been hovering around like 174 or so. And I just started exercising again. Roller skating is like the only exercise that I actually enjoy, and so I started doing that again yesterday, and I could tell that it had been a while since I'd done it, because like literally 7 minutes in, my legs were already burning and I could tell that I wasn't going to be able to do it for very long. I did take a couple breaks and I managed to get about 20 minutes of skating in, but I definitely want to build up to it, doing more like 45 minutes or so. I also got this weighted hula hoop to try out. I've only done it 3 times so far, and I want to see if it makes a difference. Here are some of the pictures from, I couldn't find right when I started intermittent fasting, which was April of 2021, but I found some that were from 2021 to show the difference from around when I started fasting till now. And then as I keep going, I'll keep adding progress photos so you guys can see the difference. But I got these shorts from Goodwill so that I could see the difference, because I wear dresses every day and it's kind of hard to see a noticeable difference in a dress. And so I got these shorts. The blue ones are size 6 from Old Navy, and the black ones are size 14, which sizes seem so arbitrary. But when I first got them, I couldn't even get the blue ones on, and then later when I could actually get them on, I couldn't button them, and now I can, barely. But it was nice to be able to see the progression of how they fit. And here I wanted to show some examples of some of the meals that I would eat for OMAD. I try to do a big variety of stuff, multiple fruits and things to be filling. Like I would have pizza, occasionally I can do eggs. I definitely don't have protein as often as I should, but I'll do eggs for that, or I'll get it through cheese, or occasionally meat. I don't eat meat super often. I don't go out of my way to avoid it. It's just one of those things that's on my list, but I don't eat it that often. I'll have veggies occasionally, but as you can see, not all of the foods that I eat are quote-unquote that healthy, but I eat what I can and put as many healthy foods in as I can. So that was kind of a glimpse into the things that I'm working on right now with exercise. I'm trying to go roller skating twice a week and get back into doing that regularly. And I decided that I would try to go with somebody, partly so it's more fun, and also so I have someone to keep me accountable and not just be like, oh, well, I don't feel like going and I'm the only one there, so I can just not go. And doing the weighted hula hoop a couple times a week, so that I'm actually getting exercise more than just like walking around the house, which is not really that much exercise. And trying to get a good variety of foods, including produce, every day if possible, which I am pretty good at that, as long as I'm able to get stuff at the store and find fruit that's firm enough or that isn't really expensive or whatever. I end up eating the same fruits for a long time. Like, I've been doing strawberries and grapes as much as I can actually find grapes that are firm enough. I've been eating strawberries and grapes pretty close to every day for a while, and then other times I'll do apples for a while, but I tend to do like the same fruits for weeks at a time or whatever, and then I change it up every once in a while. I don't change it like every day, but I try to get as much variety in my one meal as I can, just to get a variety of vitamins and minerals, and also to have myself feel fulfilled with, like, feeling like I get to eat what I want and not be craving, oh, I need something else to eat, and then making excuses with eating something else during the time that I'm supposed to be fasting. Because I've noticed that when I feel like I got to eat all the things that I wanted to eat that day, it does make it a little bit easier to resist having a snack later in the day when I don't really need to. So those are the things that I'm working on. Being consistent with those things is the hardest part for sure. And so I figured one way to be accountable with that stuff is to try to do these videos weekly, because I don't want to be doing them every week and having no results because those would be pretty boring videos, and then I would feel kind of embarrassed to keep posting them and not have any kind of progress, and so that'll keep me motivated to keep going. And plus, if even one person is expecting these videos each week and waiting to hear what I've been working on, then it's not just me working on this and being accountable only to myself. Having that accountability to somebody else, I think, will help. And I also wanted to make them just because when I was trying to find videos about people with ARFID trying to lose weight or eat better or get in shape or whatever, I couldn't find literally anything. All the videos I found were either just about ARFID or just about getting in shape, and that was the reason that I did my videos a couple years ago when I went through treatment for ARFID to try to expand my diet, was because I couldn't find any videos about going through treatment, because a lot of places that treat eating disorders don't even really know about ARFID, don't treat ARFID, or people who have it don't know that you can be treated for it. And so there's not a lot of awareness about it. There are no videos about it. And so I wanted to do my own videos to share my own experience, so that people who were like me looking for other people's experience to learn about it and to feel validated and to try to figure out what to do in their own lives can find at least one person on the internet who understands them. And since I couldn't find that, I wanted to be that for somebody else. And so that was my idea with doing these videos, that if there's somebody else out there who has ARFID and is struggling to lose weight, because like I said earlier, we tend to go for fried foods and carbs and sugar and all that stuff, which makes it very hard to lose weight. I wanted y'all to feel like you have somebody who understands that and who is going through the same thing, that you can feel like it is possible. Because whenever I'm looking for suggestions, either on YouTube or just on the internet in general, it's hard to find answers related to ARFID. Everything is just about how to eat healthier for people who don't really have eating issues. And so the suggestions a lot of the time aren't very helpful for us because they aren't really attainable for us, and it'll have like all these suggestions of meal plans, or like change this thing about your diet. I'm like, well, that's not really possible for me. Or it's like, substitute this thing, this healthier alternative, for this other thing that you usually eat. And I'm like, I can't really do that because other people might be able to do that and they don't really notice the difference. But for me, like, I notice like any change in foods that I make, like texture change of brands of like pastas that I make, or anything like that changes the texture or whatever. Excuse me. It's a lot harder to alter stuff like that, and so it's very hard to find advice online that helps people with ARFID. So I really wanted to talk about my experience and things that I've found that work and don't work, and give suggestions to you guys so that you have somebody who knows what it's like and who has found things that can work with ARFID, and not just people in general who don't understand what it's like to not be able to physically make yourself eat something because of what the texture is like. And so I hope that this video is helpful to somebody. I hope that you come back each week to get updates on what I'm working on. The future videos probably won't be quite as long. This one's just an intro, and so I had a lot more to say in this one than probably the future ones will. But I'll talk a little bit in the future ones about what I've been doing that week, about whether I've been consistent with skating and doing the weighted hula hoop, and how my eating has been, if I've been consistent with fasting and stuff like that, how I'm feeling, if I'm starting to lose weight again, or if I'm still like staying right around the same, stuff like that. But the videos in future weeks probably will be a lot shorter. But I hope that these videos help you guys, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And if you know anybody who is a really picky eater and would be interested in these, feel free to share the videos with them. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.